Yeah, I just touched my ear pod and it like shut off the phone. So I'll make sure not to
Okay.
touch them.
No. It's like I said. This all came from a conversation this fall with Alondra. I don't know much about podcasting, but she does listen to them, and I was telling her, I like to start, talking to and talking to the people that I've met, that students, Texas State students, or professionals, educators, people that I've met through my all my career at Texas State University and all that, and have them tell their stories in more in depth, especially their stories of how they got into music and started their careers and all that. Because I mean, not only because I want to know, I want to continue educating myself, but I just want more people to know, to get to know the people that are out there doing it, people that I like, people that I listen to, people that I follow, and just get to know these people better. So thank you so much,
Okay.
Eddie.
Thanks for thinking of me. Cool.
Of course, and this is Alondra Morales.
Hello.
See,
Hi, you look familiar. Did I meet you one of the times that I went down there?
I'm not too
probably
sure.
did. She was here from 2014 until 2018, 19.
Yeah, I feel like that would have been one of the times that I stopped by the school.
Yeah,
I
Oh,
think
nice.
I think
everything
so.
that's like pre-pandemic, it's like really hard to put a timeline on these
Yeah.
days, right?
Oh, yeah. For
Right.
sure. For sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Nice.
because you
it's
did
weird.
you did a salsa thing with us at Stonewall the last time you were here. And those were the years Alondra was here at Stone when we were playing at Stonewall.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so definitely y'all met then. And
Good
I
too.
think you spoke at seminar if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you did that. I don't remember.
I can't remember. I think I spoke in class, like in the classroom once.
Right,
And I
right.
just remember telling everybody to make sure they show up on time and dress right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
most the most obvious thing that actually is not done that well by many people.
It's kind of surprising.
And
But
that's the thing that's going to get you gigs more than anything else. You can be a mediocre player as long as you do those other things.
yeah, shoot, the gig, I got this gig because they wanted an all girl horn section.
That's
Not
cool.
because I'm the best trumpet player around,
So
but
are you doing any background singing or just playing trumpet?
we're doing background vocals, dancing, and playing horn. Neither of us are really dancers. I mean, I've taken a number of dance classes, so I'm kind of like the drill leader on the dance steps. But we actually had like a choreographer from that does like work with Nas and Dr. Dre. He was like in the Super Bowl and everything, like a legit choreographer come out to help us. Nothing complicated, but to figure out stuff and even though we're doing background vocals, like most pop bands these days, they play along with tracks, even though they have a live band. So there's still a lot of vocals in the box that's playing as we sing. Like sometimes I wonder if you can even hear our vocals. Maybe if they were out of tune, you could. Or, but yeah, but the vocals that are in the box are really strong. They even have horn parts in the box.
I mean that I'm glad you said that because there's a lot of bands that don't know that when you go to concerts, there's a lot of stuff that's pre-recorded.
So much of it. And then everyone wants to live up to that really fat sound. And the only way you're going to get that now is mixing it with tracks. I don't like to do it so much on my personal gigs because I feel like unless you have a team like this one, it's hard to like open the songs up or something's happening in the audience that you want to change. But they actually this show is crazy. They have this huge stage crew, and one guy is just in charge of in-ear monitors and tracks. So like he can like flip another chorus, like another change on the chorus with the push of a button if he feels like he needs it, or if the lead singer forgets the entrance. He also has all the lyrics that are coming up on a screen on the bottom, and he's just like on cue with magic fingers in
Wow.
case anything goes down.
I mean, so that's like an extra member of your band if he's got that much responsibility.
Oh, well, it's like we have two tour buses and a truck, and one bus is just crew, and the other bus is tour manager and the band members, and it's like the same amount of people.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell students all the time, I'm so proud of you, so proud of the things you've done. You know, I mean, obviously you were here at Tech State and was proud of you then, but then the things you've gone on and done, I'm always so proud of you. So
Oh,
proud of
thank you.
so many students, the Grupo Fantasma guys,
Dude, killing it.
just done such great things. And that's why when we started this, I told Alondra, I said, we gotta have Addie on it. I mean, she's gonna be one of our first stops.
Well, I know for sure I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for going there and having you as a teacher and friend, for sure.
Well,
So I'm very appreciate you guys.
I appreciate that. So, we talked a little bit about, what you're doing now. We want to get back to that, but, we prepared all these questions that we want to drill into, like the Addie, like before she's the Addie now. And if you don't mind, I mean, I know that,
Of course, yes.
but I want to, hear your story from the beginning. And this is stuff I don't really know that much about, and that's why I'm curious to learn more about all this stuff.
Okay.
Alondra, what was like some of the questions?
No, yeah. First of all, nice to meet you again. It's great hearing the stories. Just there's so much going in the background that the typical person doesn't know. So it's cool hearing it. Like Mr. Lopez says, we want to know about you before that. So our first question to you is, where were you born and where were you raised? How was your childhood like?
Well, I was born in Harlingen, Texas. I know, right? In the Valley. And then I moved to Corpus Christi when I was 4, and then Austin when I was 9. So I generally say that I'm from Austin. But what's interesting is even though my father is Hispanic and I was born in the Valley, I really didn't have a lot of Latin music culture in my life, or even Spanish speaking in my house, aside from like we had a jukebox. So we had like the Gypsy Kings and Santana and Richie Valens. And that was probably like the extent at that time of like my Latin music stuff. And then even the schools I went to, like when I went to Austin, I went to a primarily like Caucasian high school that bred NFL football players. And I grew up training and riding horses. That's what I was supposed to do. And then high school, I joined band, and then band got a little bit more serious for me. And I started hanging out with all the skater kids and going to concerts and some other things that I probably shouldn't mention on the podcast. And I just, I always liked music, and all of a sudden it became like really serious. But I don't think it was till I reached Texas State, because I was in jazz band and all that, but it wasn't until I reached Texas State, because I always loved Latin music. The reason I joined band was because my mom had the soundtrack of the Mambo Kings. And I was like, this music's awesome. And I wanted to play the drums, but they didn't let me play the drums because everyone wants to play the drums. And unless you had piano classes, they didn't let you. So I ended up playing trumpet. And I wanted to do Latin music, but like I said, we didn't have it in my school. We barely had any Latinos. And it wasn't until I got to Texas State where they had the salsa band and the mariachi band. And I was able to finally deep into things that I was really into.
And then you sing. I remember you telling me you wanted to sing some songs. So obviously you were in the horn section in the salsa band, but we would bring you up front to sing songs every concert.
Yeah, well, I started singing freshman year, but when I started singing, it was jazz. So I was in the jazz band in high school playing trumpet and percussion, because I eventually started taking drum lessons in 8th grade, but then I started getting into percussion. I remember I traded my old Rogers drum set in for some from Afro congas. And I used to play, I think, no, I didn't bring those to school ever, but I used to bring them in high school. So I did that and I sang jazz. But yeah, I wanted to do Latin stuff, but I didn't speak Spanish fluently when I first started. So it was cool. I don't know. You helped it. I guess, like, really, if I didn't have a teacher like you that was like, okay, you want to do it, here's the challenge, get it done, and you gave me the opportunity. If you hadn't given me those opportunities, I don't know what I would have done, because I don't think many teachers would have done that.
I mean, I do remember you jumping on the congas one. I didn't know when you even knew you played congas, and you started playing the better. It was like, hey, man, that's pretty dang good.
I knew like a couple. I used to know more, but I don't really have conga chops. Every once in a while, I'll play like the congas with the mariachi divas, and I think it's kind of funny, but whatever.
Yeah. And then, so what year did you graduate from Texas State?
I graduated December '06 and then
Oh
came out
six.
to LA to do my master's January '07.
I remember that. I should have thought about that because I remember you were in the mariachi the year we won first place for the first time.
Hmm.
That was
And I always wanted to
2006.
do mariachi music too. So that was like really cool to get to do it with you guys.
Yeah.
And that was like my first introduction to it. That's all like when I started working with the divas, that's really all that I had come with to work with them.
That's cool.
So,
And then Alondra, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but after Addie graduated from Texas State, she went to get her master's at a school in California.
She was just saying,
And there was a school in California that had a Latin music master's. Or correct me, what was it, Addie? Correct me if I'm wrong.
they called it Afro Latin music. And it was like a half musicology, half performance degree.
oh, okay,
Right.
cool.
Hmm. So it was cool. It was really interesting. We learned, we focused basically on the music of Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican, Haiti, Peru, and Brazil.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you spent there a couple of years doing that, and then you graduated with your master's from there, right?
Yes, yeah. Hmm. But it wasn't no Texas State. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
but
was a
then after
trip.
that, you stayed over there because you started making
Yeah.
connections as a performer, right?
Yeah, I mean, I went out there to do music, but what was crazy is like I really wanted to do like the tropical stuff, which I was when I got out there. And then I got hired with the divas. And all of a sudden I was working full time with them and I had like 3 different colored trajes in my closet. And I was, how the hell did this happen? Yeah. And I did that for a while. And then I realized that wasn't, I mean, all the props in the world to them and their successes, but mariachi was never my true passion.
Mhm.
I need a little more Africa in my music. So
So
yeah.
when you were with the divas, I do remember. Correct me, I may be remembering this wrong, but I remember you telling me that anytime some kind of Selena tribute came up, they would have you sing it.
Yeah, they would make me introduce. It was weird. Like I listened to like a little bit of Selena back home, but then when I came up to California, people are like ape shit over Selena. And and there's like 5 different Selena tribute group bands here. I even started one because I found out if you like I was already singing her music. And then I found out if you put a wig on, you can charge like 3 times as much.
You know what? I need to try that.
No.
I'm just saying, you know what you could do? You know what tributes I'm actually about to start doing? Luckily, I don't have to dress up for it, but I just got hired to do 5 different Juan Gabriel tributes.
Oh,
You could
everybody
do
says
that.
I look like Juan Gabriel.
You could do that.
Everybody says
You
everybody
could
calls me.
charge big bucks, man.
They call me Panga all the time. My brothers and my mom.
Yeah, that ain't bad. He's kind of a superstar, so whatever.
And what did you? So you got to know Cindy Shay pretty good?
Real well. Real well. We actually have quite a bit in common. She, her being I learned a lot from her. Because she's a business owner. The divas. She's a Irish Italian girl who's won 2 Grammys for Mexican regional album.
Yeah.
So there's some things to be learned from her process, especially with me being like the kind of Huera Tejana girl.
Yeah.
And she's a hell of a trumpet player.
Is she?
Yeah, she's way better than I am. Man, she plays like a dude. There's not too many girls that you can find that play trumpet like a dude.
Yeah.
And she can do it. Yeah.
And
I mean, I don't know if that's the sexist thing to say these days, but whatever. I don't care.
And then as far as the divas go, is there just one Mariachi Divas, or is that kind of like a franchise thing that she has several groups with that name?
Now it's a franchise in the sense that like sometimes she's triple or quadruple booked. But she has enough that she probably has about 16 full-timer girls, and then she probably has about 20 something girls that she can also call. And then sometimes she'll bring in some other girls. Lately, she's even had to bring in guys sometimes, because she has the band playing full time at Disney, and then she also has Knott's Berry Farms. But at Knott's Berry, she's calling them Las Angelitas because she was worried about Disney getting mad. But it's the same girls, it's the same arrangements.
About who getting mad?
Disney getting mad because Knott's Berry Farms being like, competition, and
Right.
the divas have been at Disney for a good 20 years now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fact. Yeah, and I mean that, you played with them for a while. That must have given you a lot of gigs and a lot of experience with that.
Yeah, and she's really good about the show, and showmanship. I learned from Disney too, like one of the first things, the main guy that hired me, he said, people listen with their eyes, so one, you got to give them something visual. And growing up making mixed tapes all the time, there's an art to the show and the song lineup and how you present each song or how you decide to connect them. And there's an ebb and flow to making a successful show. And a lot of that. She's also really good with just talking nonchalantly on the microphone to the audience. And so I think I learned a bit from that.
No, I see your videos. You're very good at that. You're very good at interacting with the audience.
That's fun. Yeah, that's the best part. But
that's so important. That's such an important skill because so many people think it's when you start a band, when you're like the lead of a band or the lead singer, it's just about your singing. No, you're the liaison that has to connect the audience to the musicians.
Yeah, and that's when my undergrad was in jazz, and that's really what like sold me on doing the Latin music was I felt like jazz people were just kind of quiet and I couldn't really tell how they felt. So playing music that made people dance or be more interactive, I can't go back. So yeah, and then these days with the whole social media thing and the fact of being followers, like you have to be even interactive on your social media game. Like Google, like for example, after I do my shows here, I'll Google what this artist is getting tagged in or people making comments, and I'll go back and I'll like their posts or I'll be like, thanks for coming in the show, because then it helps me get followers. And my name is really hard to spell, so it's hard for I have like the worst name for Googling, but whatever.
Yeah, well, no, when you started, so after the Divas thing, then you became your own act there at Disney, right?
Yeah, exactly. I went in. They needed a new Latin band. I've actually had 3 different Latin bands perform at Disney, 2 of them on a regular basis. So that was cool. Yeah. It's an interesting scenario doing that. I guess I'm going like 8 years of booking my own bands at Disney. You would think it pays a lot more than it does, but it doesn't.
Well, I think
it's like a prestigious thing.
California is an expensive state to live in, I imagine.
Yeah, and the thing is with Disney, I think they figure that anybody would want to do it. Like just the competition to be a princess there is like ruthless.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are Disney or somebody at Disney, were they the ones that convinced you to start naming your band Adelaide, or was that your decision?
Yeah, it was actually them, because at the time I was doing more stuff by Pilar and Pili because I figured that was more of a Latin name. And then the main entertainment guy who's retired now, when he put me in, he's like, no, you're going to go by Adelaide. And I was like, cool, that's not a Latin name. And he didn't really care or know. So you do whatever the mouse tells you. And yeah.
When you work for the mouse.
Yes, yeah, you do what he tells you. But at the same time, like now I'm kind of running into this thing where it's like, do I change my name or have something that's more abbreviated, or because I've been going this long with it as it is?
Oh, I think it's a great name, Adelaide. I think it's a great name.
Well, I have to go. I'm trying to do the whole Adelaide Pilar, because the thing is, if you put Adelaide in, Australia comes up like crazy,
really?
And then Pilar kind of gives it a Latin thing. And then there's no Adelaide Pilars yet, knock on wood. So eventually, And I was kind of thinking like maybe it's too long, but some of the artists I listen to are like that. Like when you think about like Natalia Lafourcade or Monsignor Perine or was it Mon Laferte? So I guess it's like a Latina thing to have a name that's hard to spell and say.
Mhm.
If you do quirky music, yeah, which my stuff's a little quirky, so
Cool.
yeah.
Speaking about quirky, a band a YouTube channel and a band I really follow. I don't know if you call them a band, but you reminded me of this because you said quirky. Is this group called Walk Off the Earth? I don't know if you ever heard of them.
No, what is it?
Basically, they take like a lot of different pop songs and they cover them, but they cover them in like crazy, unique ways
Okay.
that with weird instrument, quirky. That's why I
Quirky.
brought that to
I'll
mind.
check it out.
Very,
Yeah.
very, very quirky. And
Yeah,
that
that's
seems to be a big seller on YouTube, quirky stuff.
yeah, well, it's really cool. Actually, me and lots of musicians have been talking that like today it's an interesting time period. You don't have to be mainstream to find an audience these days. Like, for example, barely anybody could tell you what the number one streaming song is today and sing it back to you. Do you know what it is? I didn't. It's like some Justin Bieber song that I've never heard. Yeah. So, but that says something because I think 20 years ago everyone knew what the number one song was or was playing all the time. So you have all these different avenues and platforms. So now the trick is figuring out how to get your product to the right audience, which I'm still learning and completely overwhelmed by, and trying to reach out to people to help me with that because it's just like I just want to work on the music. Like nowadays you have to be so tied into the World Wide Web. But you can definitely be quirky and find it on it, just like podcasts. If you think about it, there's tons of podcasts and you can do so many different things and find your audience because that person will get up on their phone and be like, I want to know about this. And then all these options come up. So you have to figure out what can you do so that yours is like one of the top 5s that comes up when someone searches that.
Right.
But it is there. We don't have to be mainstream to be successful these days, which is kind of cool and encouraging.
Yeah, on a lot of levels, it is cool because that means you're not having to go on your hands and knees in the office of some record producer.
Yeah, but it's still money. Like instead, you have to figure out how to channel your money into streaming and into, like I said, where the links pop up and all the it's a beast all in itself. I feel like people who are about 10 years younger than me are on their game for it. But I feel like people that are my age and a little bit older were just kind of like, oh, can I just pay someone to do it? And then you find out how much it costs and you're like, oh shit, maybe I should learn how to do this myself. Yeah. So it's an interesting time.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. I mean, honestly, Alondra and I are doing this podcast as a labor of love. We want it to grow. We want a lot of people to hear these stories. But more than anything, we just want to document these stories. We want to document people like you. Put your story out there on this level. And I want to do this, revisit and touch base with people that I've worked with, that I know, that I cherish. And that's really why we're doing this labor of love. And I hope a lot, we're just getting started. Alondra is the one that thought about this idea. So I'm along for the ride.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about, I think we're also starting to revert back to the arts and the love of the arts and why we do it. And because people really missed it during the pandemic too. People were surviving on that emotionally, whatever art outlets we could have or listen to. So, and you see it in the concerts with all the people coming out being like, we missed this, we needed this. And the positive, like the show that I'm on, the tour is called The Art of Joy. So, I mean, it is positive. It's like almost disgustingly positive because me, I'm like kind of cynical and like, but even me, I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be good for me. I needed this.
It's like eating ice cream all day long.
Yes, which actually, I think that would be really cool too. I can't do that anymore these days. Yeah, so it's interesting. It's a good time to do things for the love of it. Like I said, I think some people are going to be more responsive to it than they would have 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking, Miss Alondra?
No, I mean, it's so fun. Like, you're obviously an artist and you're a performer. And so hearing like your stories, and you're so right, you know, you living in California, you are in the center of artistry and performance and stuff like that. And so I do have a question for you. In all those experiences that you've had, what has been one of the most memorable experiences in performing? Anything.
Oh, wow. Sometimes I like forget performances I even had, and they're like, oh yeah, we did that. It starts to run together. This tour has been really cool. That I've been on. That's been an interesting experience, just because like we're doing the whole tour bus thing and the hotels and sleeping on the bus and blah blah blah. So it's definitely up there. I went to Cuba twice to study music, and that was a hell of an adventure.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was life changing.
When was this?
I also remember all the hoops you had to jump through just to make it happen.
Jeez, yeah, it was nuts. And then like I had all these departments that were like funding me, and I had it like all paid for. Then someone like reported it to a bank, and I lost like lots of the funding for it because it's not illegal to travel to Cuba. It's illegal to spend American money in Cuba. So you actually have a problem with the state treasury department, not with like whatever the other departments that deal with that crap. Right. So yeah, the Wells Fargo thing put a big old flag on it. But then the next time I went, I found it's actually quite easy to go. So probably that, I guess, different shows, just being on really big stages and knowing that I like contracted it and paid it and organized it. Like, I guess that feels really good. Making original music.
Yeah, no, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. Didn't you do something at the Latin Grammys or the Grammys or something?
Oh, yeah, for like 4 years in a row up to prior to the pandemic. I was the MD of the house band for the Latin Grammys. So they would hire me and my band so if any artists needed people to back them up. And then I was also in charge of helping them find all the other musicians. So like, for example, if Pitbull came in and he's like, I want 10, Brazilian drummers that I would, luckily I had a big enough Rolodex where I could help find people or call people. Most of that stuff on that's playback anyways. Like, yeah. Yes. I played guitar, or looked like I played guitar with, what is it? Luis Bosé, that Spanish dude. Yeah. But I don't even think I was strumming the right chords. I was just like, and getting into it. So lots of the Latin television is a lot of playback.
A lot of playback. I remember the Texas State Mariachi one time was asked in Austin. There was this show called Premios a la Música Latina or something like that, and they asked us to accompany. Not Rocio Durcal, but her daughter. I forgot.
Oh, Shayla. Right.
And they sent us a song. Learn this song, but they didn't send us music. They sent us like a video link. So then I had to go and pull all the music out and write it out for the group. And so
they didn't even play it.
Memorize it, all that kind of stuff. We show up and I was like, well, where are the microphones? Oh, there's no microphones. You guys aren't going to be on the audio.
Yeah, it's fucked up. That happens a lot. You have to like look how you know how to play it, and then because I think I did the same thing with Lupita Infante. She came and we just faked it. Yeah, which is kind of cool in the sense with like trumpet playing. When you're really playing, you make really ugly faces. So it's like the only time I can look pretty playing my trumpet is during playback. Yeah.
At least the cool thing, or the the thing that was good about me writing out the music for the students and rehearsing it is even though we weren't on the audio, at least all the violins were bowing.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say with the violins. Like y'all have to agree on all the ups and downstroking stuff. So that makes sense. It's a lot of. Mm-hmm.
But I honestly did not know it was going to be re-recorded until I got there and saw no microphone. I thought they were going to give us like clip-on microphones. That's how dumb I was.
Yeah. No, I mean, how would you know if they didn't say anything? That's another thing about Latin television and all their stuff. It's like the most unorganized stuff ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, most TV and like big stuff like that, it's always like, hurry up and wait, and everything's getting changed. But for some reason, whenever it's like the Spanish channel stuff, it's like, wow.
Wow. That's all you can say is wow.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. 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 And I did La Voz Mexico too. I went down there and it was, even that was like, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. One of the times, the last time we spoke, you were telling me that you got pretty far in that show.
Yeah, but it's all fake. It's all like super casting. And then they wanted me to stay in Mexico for a month. I couldn't do it. So even when I did the batallas, it was like fake. We made it look like we were performing in front of judges and there were no judges. And then I'm like, thanks, you know. And later they filmed the guys watching our video as if they were there so they could just get their facial expressions. But yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't have gone that far anyways. They asked me to do the show because they saw me at Disney. But the girl that I was doing the batallas with, she was like 10 years younger and flirting with Maluma and everyone was talking about it. So I knew I was probably on my way out. So, yeah. But it was an interesting experience. And now apparently when I look at my Instagram, I have like this huge following in Mexico City. And I got to figure out how to tap into that. And I have no idea. That's another job for a publicist.
Well, I probably know your answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Out of all those social media ones, which one do you focus on the most? Obviously, I see you on Facebook. I don't have Instagram, but I see you on Facebook. But which one do you focus on the most, or is it like everything?
I should be focusing more on TikTok, but I do more stuff on Instagram. Yeah, it kind of depends. Like they say, a lot of it has to do with age range and stuff. Like the younger you are, the more it starts to veer towards TikTok and Instagram and a lot less Facebook. I have a handful of older fans too, so the Instagram's kind of working for me. But the artist on this tour, he's like really on my ass about getting my TikTok game together. But I'm just like overwhelmed by it. Like I spend so much time just trying to do what, social media I can. And the fact that it's not enough just makes me be like, well, fuck, ugh.
Alondra, are you doing something on TikTok or Instagram? What are you doing?
Yeah, I started kind of like a little fashion blog on Instagram. And it's been slowly growing, and I totally understand that. Like, it takes so much time to grow. And even then, I was doing my daily post, and I was doing like 5 stories a day. It takes so long, and like you're right, it has to be through TikTok because the attention span, one, is short, and it has to be funny, and it has to be witty, and it has to be concise. And it's being you're an artist, you're a creator. That it takes time to think about all those things, and you want to be meticulous about it, but it's just fast. Go, 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 go.
Everything is all content these days, just out. That's another reason why like nobody can really tell you what the top songs or albums these days. It's just like being pushed out constantly.
Yeah, and especially like and I know Mr. Lopez, I mean, he taught university, but me, I taught high school. Having attention span for these kiddos, like it's so hard because what do they do all day? They're on social media and it's so fast. And it's so fast.
I'm glad that I didn't have to deal with that when I was in school because that sounds like some severe emotional trauma. But at the same time, I kind of wish I did because maybe I'd be more on top of my game today with it. So it's like
I mean, Facebook was Facebook going when you were here at Texas State?
I think it was just starting to happen. I'm scared to say that maybe it was MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace. Did you have a MySpace?
I had a MySpace. I had a MySpace. Yeah, because MySpace was like getting big right when I moved to California in 2007. So that sounds about right. Ugh. Ugh.
So let's talk a little about your originals and your writing and your CDs.
Yeah. Well,
your recordings. One of the last times you came into town, you were in town because you were going to be filming a video with Grupo Fantasma, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and so that was on an album that I put out a couple years ago. The song's cool. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of, making an album, putting all this money into it, and not putting a lot of money into the release and like the internet sales and such. So not a lot of streaming on it. I put out another single with some of the Grupo guys during the pandemic. And I'm actually working on a new album now with Astru Sierra from Ozo Motley.
Okay.
The trumpet singer player. And one of the cumbias, we did put Beto from Fantasma on it. We did a new rendition of Suavecito, Suavecito, the Laura Leon song. So he's on it. So yeah, I said stay in touch with the group of guys. When it comes to cumbias, I kind of like to do what they do, mixed with a little Ozo, mixed with me. I've always been a kind of fan of cumbia with a little bit of edge. I don't like my cumbia to sound like a feria.
Yeah. Oh. That's awesome. I mean, is Ozo Motley still playing? Are they still touring?
Yeah, they're doing some work here and there. There's kind of like this new influx of 90s bands being hip and cool again. So that's good for them for tours, especially I think out here. They've always had like a following in Colorado and Texas and such, but they haven't been doing a whole lot. And Astro used to do a lot of the writing for the albums in the first half of their time period. They've been kind of shifting writers a bit. So along their sound has shifted too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I remember last time I saw Ozo Motley was at a South by Southwest thing. This was years ago. I mean, honestly.
When they got arrested?
No, not that time.
Oh, okay.
But it was decades ago, and I remember going to the concert, and it was the band right before Ozo Motley, the band that opened up for Ozo Motley before they came on. Because Ozo Motley has this thing where they used to come on from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
They all of a sudden you're in the audience and you hear like somebody playing like a samba group, percussion. Yeah. And there's like people standing out and they make their way to the stage and then they get on their instruments. But the band before them, I'll never forget this. I don't remember the name of the band, but it's at the end of their concert, the guy was, obviously throwing out his CD, for everybody before streaming. And he just had a bunch of like the discs, not the covers, but the discs. And he just kind of like a deck of cards and just fanned it out like that to the audience. And the guy like next to me, he got a CD right in the forehead like that.
No. What an idiot. Yeah. Awesome.
Couldn't believe it. But yeah, that wasn't Ozo Motley. It was the band before them.
It's unforgettable.
That's a memory I have of when I saw Ozo Motley.
That's funny. Yeah. The whole pandemic thing really screwed up their ability to walk in and off stage. But Astro was like super stoked about that because apparently he has like chipped teeth from that because he would always be walking through the crowd and somebody would bump his bell of his horn into his face. So he was happy that stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was that was a cool effect, but I can imagine how that'd be dangerous, especially with horn players.
Yeah, I never thought about that till then either. And they're small now. They're only like a 6-piece now.
Really? Okay.
But they play with tracks like everybody else does so that it still sounds thick. Yeah, they only got 2 horns. So
do you know, have you heard of Ozo Motley, Alondra?
No, I have not.
You should look them up.
Yeah, we just dated ourselves, huh? I keep doing that on this tour, saying shit that makes me sound older than everyone.
Yeah, I mean, they're great. They had great music, a great band back in the day.
Very iconic for West Coast for sure. And they were really smart about getting a lot of music into movies. I think also because being out here in LA. So yeah, that's actually the key these days. Now with the stuff that we're writing and licensing, ideally we're trying to get it licensed under people that would put it out for like a Netflix show first or a commercial or something, and then release the song along with that.
Right. That's what you're working on?
Yeah, there's such a high demand for music and in streaming and visual streaming. So first of all, you have to have like a video no matter what these days. You can't just put out a song without anything visual. And then if you can get it licensed or on something that's like a movie or a commercial or a short film, that's really what you try to aim for. Awesome.
So let me ask you about your writing process. You write it by yourself or do you have a partner?
It depends. I never, all my songs, I generally will partner up with at least one person, depending on what I'm working on or what I need. All the stuff that I'm working on now, it's me and Astro partnering up. He's producing it. He's putting me in positions that are uncomfortable for me in writing, which is good. He's making me rap a lot more than I used to. So there's a lot of rapping on the next album.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and part of it is also too, is I'm not as proficient in the studio as I would like to be. So it's nice to have someone that can help me with that stuff. And even like I love writing melodies and arranging songs and doing the music part. Lyrics can make me a little nervous, but so in the past, I've worked with other people a lot with lyrics. Like I'll be like, here's the melody. You have to fit all the lyrics in this. But Astro's making me actually write quite a bit of lyrics these days.
Cool.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Alondra, do you have some other stuff? I think Addie has to go to sound check here in a little bit.
Yeah. What time is it? I don't even know. It's 2:50. Oh yeah, I do have to go in about 5 minutes.
It's at Marcus time.
For our last question for you, how would you like to be remembered?
Oh, I really want to have some music that sticks and stays. Like, being that I'm at the age where I don't think I'm going to have children, it's becoming more crucial to me that I do some art that I feel satisfied with, that I would hope would linger. So that's what I would like to be remembered for, some good original music that is widely known. Beautiful. And I haven't reached that yet. And I feel like I'm on a time limit or constraint. So sometimes it really stresses me out. Mm-hmm. I mean, I should be like, I wish people would remember me for my bubbly personality and then positive, but like, no, I want music that people know the words to, which I have like a small following, but I want more.
Yeah. I mean, like what you just tapped into, your songs become your children.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And also, I mean, people say too, like once you've written a song or even painted a picture, it's really not yours anymore. Right. You know, once you put it out there. So I don't know even if I put a song out there, whether I could even say, oh, this is mine, but yeah.
So you feel you're a better melody writer than a lyric writer?
Oh, definitely. I write like a trumpet player. I hear lyrics last. Like now writing lyrics has really opened up my ears, thinking how people write and appreciating people who are good at writing lyrics, and then really seeing the difference between Spanish lyrics and English lyrics. Mm-hmm. And because I write so melodically, sometimes I feel that I have to put them in Spanish instead of English because it doesn't flow as well.
Right.
You know, like Spanish is a lot more syllabic, or the English stuff's just real simple these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Addie, I know you have to go, so thank you so much for talking to us.
Man, this is awesome. This is like the highlight of my day, dude. Anything that has to do with you or that you need, like I'm ever endeavored to you. I still brag about you to this day.
Oh, thank you.
To so many people, like you are one of the coolest, best educators I've ever crossed paths with. And I would hate to think what would happen if I never met you.
No, thank you. I mean, I feel the same way because I learn from all of y'all. Every single student I've had, I've learned from them as much as they learn from me. So it's an honor.
It's a back and forth. Well, hopefully I'll be back this summer for a few days, visiting the fam. If not, I will be at the Paramount Theater in Austin on the 31st of May with the Andy Grammer tour. So maybe we can sneak in something then.
Yeah, let's do that. All right.
Sounds good. Well, good luck with the podcast, and thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Thanks, Addie.
You.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.